Ian Magnuson speaking. We'll start off with a roll call. Maybe just go left to right. If you could please read your name as well, or our recording secretary knows who's talking. Maybe the minutes later.
Cool. Steve Romanelli.
Jean Hess, the liaison from City Commission.
Rob Leakes, ECC member.
Emily Demarest, ECC member. Sharon Deaver, co-chair. Gail Walter.
All right.
Bobby Glasser here.
Excellent. Well, excellent. We have quorum. That's good to hear. We'll give one a second to confirm. It looks like we're streaming here. We had an issue with sound last time, so just want to make sure that that goes through. All good? Thank you, sir. Wonderful. So let's take a peek at the meeting minutes. Did anybody have issues with the December meeting minutes? Be corrected. Okay.
I think I sent you something, or that might have been something else.
I think that was for the agenda stuff.
Okay.
Minor thing with the unexcused absence. I contacted
Aaron? Yeah. No worries. We'll make sure to update that. On the past tense anyway, so, but we'll make sure we got good records. So, if somebody wants to make a motion to accept them. Excellent. Motion to approve the December meeting minutes. Unanimous. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. All right, we are on schedule. 4:35. Anybody have any announcements, individual or otherwise? So folks might notice on the agenda.
I have an announcement.
Yes, please.
I have an announcement. Last night, Commission did pass the budget, which included the sustainability coordinator. And so now I'm sure that will be able to be posted and found, and I'll keep you updated upon how that's going.
Great, thank you.
Good news.
Do you have any sense if the challenge with the new city attorney hiring process will get in the way at all, or do you think those will probably happen parallel?
They'll be parallel,
Okay.
because, we'll use HR for the posting of it, but then CPED, community planning and economic development, so this person will be a planner position.
Gotcha.
And so, that they will probably take a reins and
Excellent.
all good.
Very good, thank you. So that's good news. Kind of related to that too, Sharon and I were originally going to meet with Jimmy McCarthy before this meeting, just to see what's going on. Timing didn't work out, but she and Nolan Bergstrom from planning will be presenting to us next month on updates. Part of the thinking for leaving it till February too was to ensure that that posting was up, so we kind of have something to talk about besides just implementation.
Right, and if you know anybody that wants to do it,
Absolutely.
it's a great job.
Yeah, share it in your networks if you can. City jobs pay pretty well. They work you hard, but they pay well. So one thing you might notice on the announcements, we added a section called news and educational items.
Yeah.
So one thing that Sharon and I would like to do to kind of take advantage of our platform is just offer the opportunity if anybody's seeing any random news articles that might be relevant to, climate, environment, environmental justice. Doesn't necessarily have to pertain to the city of Kalamazoo specifically, but just wanted to offer a platform to highlight interesting environmental things that y'all are picking up in the ether. So I actually don't have anything to present on that topic, but I just want to note it. So if next month you have any thoughts, wanted to think about 10-ish minutes to just kind of point people to things, and if we got links, we can obviously distribute those likewise. Yeah.
So was the Western Michigan teach-in streamed? Or was it recorded and streamed?
It was streamed. I assume that it was recorded.
Somewhere, because Sibel Shattuck did an amazing presentation on environmental racism. It was really wonderful.
And that was coordinated by WMU?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was on MLK Day. It was on Monday.
Oh, yes. I've been tandem with the Jameel Hill presentation at campus or
At
separate
night.
event?
This was from 11 to 3.
Gotcha, thank you.
And
Cool.
It was the noon presentation,
Okay,
so.
I'll see if I can dig up that link.
I was like, yeah, is there a way you could share a link with
Yeah.
us?
If you can't find it, let me know. Steve might be able to find it.
Yeah, I can look for it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and then we'll distribute that to the committee and it'll live forever in our shared drive. All right, so, in the interest of time, we have some boring stuff to talk about, bylaws and terms and things, but we do have one guest with us that wanted to talk about some stuff going on at Western. Steve, if you'd like to join us at the table, maybe give your name, title, and then take it away.
Thank you for giving me some time. My name is Steve Bertman, Bertman. I'm professor in the Institute of the Environment and Sustainability at Western, and currently serving as chair of our Climate Change Working Group, which is a group of volunteer, faculty, alumni, community members trying to educate people and interact with the community about the climate crisis. And we have declared that March 2023 will be, or is, Climate Emergency Month. And we are planning to promote and coordinate and advertise events occurring in the month of March. And we're hoping to fill the entire month. We're looking right now for keynote speakers, or a keynote speaker. We've got a couple on the list. We put out requests. We've asked the governor to come and speak. I've not heard from the governor yet. Mary Robinson is going to be the former president of Ireland, who is literally wrote the book on climate justice. Is going to be in Ann Arbor mid-March. So we're trying to see if we can get her to over here, or maybe get her on a Zoom call. Anyhow, so we're hoping to have some big name speakers, but also a bunch of smaller events throughout the month. And we built a website, which I think it's called, all one word, climateemergencymonth.org.
Okay.
Where we're keeping track of all of the events and keeping track of all of the organizations that have endorsed Climate Emergency Month, or signed down as co-sponsor. So I met Jean at the MLK event on Monday, and she asked me to come and make sure that everyone here knows about Climate Emergency Month. Ask you to, if you're interested in signing on, if you can do that as an endorser, to be listed on our website. We're trying with that list of endorsers to just show how broad the support for pushing for real action, urgent action on climate change. It is an existential threat, and we are running out of time to respond. We've squandered decades, and now we're up against the wall. So it would be great if you were interested in doing that. We, would like to. One of my questions was, what's the deal with the sustainability coordinator? Is it in the budget? Has it been hired? Can we get moving? The city declared a climate emergency years ago, and it would be nice to see things happen.
If you know anybody who would like to apply, I'm sure it's going to be live pretty soon.
I think, if you could send me the job description, or even the announcement when it happens. I'm happy to send it. We have a couple thousand name email list now that we can send it out to. If or could we organize? Could we, by we I mean you, organize an event in March announcing the position, the goals, at least, the goals for the position, I guess.
Mhm.
I think you all are aware that the county is going to be hiring someone soon.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of opportunity for collaboration to connect with the, with the city and the county, and of course, the university is, the lot of people at the university that are willing to do that. So,
Could you, I don't want to interrupt, could you tell us a little bit about the position with the county? I haven't heard about that.
yeah, so the EPA funded Eagle to hire as a pilot, a countywide climate coordinator position. And, they were supposed to vote on it this week. It got pushed off to February.
Last night.
So they would
Yeah.
actually be a position, working for the county government or working for Eagle?
It would be, they would officially be hired by the county, but funded by this grant through Eagle.
Okay.
And that's been, that's been a priority of the Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition for a while to organize a countywide effort. Because there are a lot of, issues that cross political boundaries, housing, standards for dealing with energy costs and, increased flooding, risks and things like that. That it doesn't make sense for there to be just sort of isolated action, or I think it would be more effective in a coordinated fashion. So it's just really exciting that there'll be someone at the city and someone at the county that can coordinate and reach out to some of the other townships that maybe are not as involved. Still face the same threats that we all do.
We did have a meeting here with the county, and they are
Great.
planning that. And I'm sure it will be part of the job description for the city coordinator to work with the county coordinator and the universities to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, great.
Does the city of Portage have something equivalent? I don't know.
They have a environmental concerns committee.
I know they
Yeah.
they have a body like ours, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, not yet.
They also have declared an
Mhm.
emergency.
Right.
But I haven't heard of any action towards a position
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
But that's
Good question.
it's a very good question. One of the events that is 95% sure for Climate Emergency Month is a visit by Missy Stultz from Ann Arbor, who is the head of their, they've got a whole office so tentatively that's March 18th, and it would be very exciting to have some cross-fertilization, city to city, because they've done some amazing things, and we don't need to.
When and where?
We'll,
On March 18th?
it's tentatively 3 p.m. We've requested the Van Dusen room in the library, but have not heard back yet.
The Central Library?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right across the street.
Have you been in contact with Kalamazoo Earth Day at all? Because they do a lot of events in April as well for climate-related stuff and Earth Day-related stuff, obviously,
Yeah.
but curious.
Yeah,
I say they, but.
I'm the treasurer
Yeah.
All right.
of that committee.
You probably know.
All right.
Yeah, but,
You're trying to get 2 months in a row.
well, we thought about
Whole
doing
month
it,
of the year.
we thought about
You get 12 months.
doing it in April, but didn't want to interfere with
Sure.
Earth Day events. So,
Great.
yeah. One of the things that we're trying to do also is, so the first week of March is Western spring break, which is unfortunate timing. but we're trying to come up with a series of opportunities for students to do an alternative spring break by volunteering in the city or, you know, at the nature center or, you know, that's basically the structure. We're trying to come up with ideas. So if there are ideas that people have, I would love for anyone who's interested to be involved in our, you know, our planning efforts. Would
Let students know to watch The Last Tourist. Have you seen that movie?
I've not.
About tourism, how going on spring break. And how it's just not sustainable. And then there are options for better kind of tourism. So it's called The Last Tourist.
Interesting.
.com.
Yeah, they should scuttle all cruise liners tomorrow if we're going to be serious about this. But
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have questions for me or if there's the best way to maintain communication is.
yeah, off the top of my head, I feel like maybe the best plan as far as leveraging our small but existing network is that maybe once stuff's a little bit more finalized, if you want to just give us some updates by our February 15th meeting, we can read those into the record and those will be on provided publicly. Beyond that, there's probably not a ton that we can do unless folks have some other ideas.
Well, unless you have regular meetings and would welcome a liaison from this team to attend, even if just for, you know, not to participate in necessarily, but to learn and report back to us, would be another option too, that we do with other groups.
Yeah, sure. We've been meeting on Zoom. We have meeting this week and tomorrow and next week, next Thursday as well. Our goal is by the beginning of February to really make a big push, send out press releases, social media posts, trying to nail down as many specific dates and times and places as we can before we do that. So I would be happy for someone to Zoom in, you know, send me an
email. You could send us a link to join, to join the Teams, by Teams or Zoom or whatever it is.
Yeah, we'd be happy to distribute that for sure.
We can distribute that, see if someone wants to
Sure.
chime in.
And I'm wondering if we could have endorsement by the Environmental Concerns Committee of the city, and then to have the Environmental Concerns Committee ask the city if they would also partner.
Sure. In the form of kind of a official recommendation, are you saying?
Absolutely, and so then any announcements that come through them would go on our social media pages.
Sure.
So that we're partnering, that we're a supporting partner.
That would be
Is it
fabulous.
gonna cost us anything?
What? Are you offering?
No.
Yeah, Mary Robinson doesn't come free. No, it doesn't cost anything. But if you wanted to volunteer.
I'm happy to talk with Jamie and the city manager's office and make sure that it's something that we could do, but I think the city should support this.
Right, our main goal is to build the movement. You know, there is some momentum. We're hiring people locally. There's movement statewide. There's movement federally, and we need to include as many people as we can in this movement. So the more word we can get out about this, the better.
Okay.
But again, there's no one being paid to organize this. Right. So we're, any contributions of time or effort be appreciated.
Got folks from other departments at the university involved too, or is it mostly with your group?
Yeah, well, we're doing most of the work, but we have signed on a bunch of units at the university, including the president's office and the Office of Legislative Affairs and the research, the College of Arts and Sciences. So we are we're building that coalition, but we also have the Nature Center and Michigan Climate Action Network and,
What's the Venn diagram like with the WMU Climate Change Working Group and Climate Crisis Coalition? In my head, I thought they were like, kind of like overlapped, but I'm not really sure where they
yeah,
stand now that Denise
yeah,
left.
yeah, it's more like, chicken and egg.
Okay.
No, it's,
One
the
supported the
coalition spun out of the working group.
Okay.
So there's a lot of overlap
Okay.
of the
Mhm.
people involved,
other.
but it's not 100%.
Gotcha.
The coalition really is supposed to be a coalition of, with input from all of these different outside groups, not a campus
Sure.
event, but many of the same people are involved in both.
Okay. Well, we can definitely put together some kind of recommendation to vote on, for our next month's meeting. 90% of what we need to write's already been written in the climate declaration anyway, so, yeah, it shouldn't be too big of a lift, and, we'll be happy to distribute anything that comes our way.
Great, great, thank you.
You bet. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for arranging that.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Wishing you success.
Yeah,
Wishing us success.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
absolutely. Better and worse.
Thanks for the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
you.
and I asked you to, send any students or, because don't we need somebody to replace Aaron?
We do.
So if he has anybody, that he knows of.
Yeah, I know on top of the student angle for us, I'm pretty sure the WMU Office for Sustainability is also hiring like 3 positions. So on the off chance of WMU students listening, there's a job out there for you.
There we go.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Now to the fun stuff. Bylaws and terms. So I distributed, what our current bylaws are alongside a document that I got from the clerk's office with committee appointments, both of which contain stuff that we have to discuss. So maybe we'll start with terms. This is probably shorter, easier. So I think the weirdest one, and I didn't mention, but Jim Meliush and David Bennett couldn't make it tonight, and they're all good. The strange thing was in the clerk's email, he said that Dave's position was filling a vacancy and his term ended, which doesn't really make sense to me because that's never been a thing with anybody else. So,
It kind of has, because the
Yeah.
terms start in January, so someone left early, and that's what the vacancy was, so
Right.
his term started at the beginning of last year.
right.
But it was like finishing out whoever's, I don't know whose, position, and
Yeah,
we have
the-
to re-vote him in.
The confusing part for me was whether or not that he was saying that Dave is now on his second term, which doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay,
Okay, so
no.
I don't think that's the case, but I can ask for clarification because we're gonna have other stuff that we have to update them with anyway. Gail, I got your message about, when do terms end.
Yeah, that would be more helpful.
Yes,
Mhm.
I hear what you're saying. My understanding is it would be 3 years after the 12/31, but I can try to find, official dates. Wait, expiration date. It is one of the columns on the end. So, it looks like your term expires 12/31 of this year. Or no, sorry, 12/31 of this year, because then the new person has to be voted in.
Okay, well, if I started in 21,
Mhm.
this is the end of this year is 23,
Right,
so that's only 2 years.
for your second term, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
21, 22, 23, if
3
you,
years.
if you started it on
Oh,
the-
okay.
Okay.
I don't know, but,
Does that
You
sound?
started in
Well, if
January?
I started in December of 21, is that what you said?
Oh, so the expiration date on the sheet says, 1/1/24, but as there's not a meeting
Okay.
before that, then the last one would be December of this year,
Okay,
23.
because the expiration date didn't,
It doesn't make sense.
it doesn't show up on the thing that you sent us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just the start date
Okay.
and some out-of-date phone numbers, so.
Sure. I got your note about the phone number as well.
Forgot to bring it with me.
No, that's okay. Yeah, and as folks can see, like, Nicole's not been on the committee for a while. Sharon noted that some meeting minutes are missing from the website. I know the clerk's office has been either understaffed or at least has a lot to do, so, wanted to just kind of, get up speed on that. But the important thing to note is we do have one vacancy, so if you know anybody, obviously, welcome them. It would be great if we weren't an all-white body, so that's something to consider, especially geography in the city as well. We're kind of overrepresented in some areas, but kind of get what we can, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Do our bylaws specify that it has to be a resident of the city?
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
we entertained this in NFP, and there's some rationale there that if we're seeking someone with some expertise, and they're on the periphery of this, that would be a consideration. So I just thought I'd bring it up at this meeting.
Yeah, it's pretty clear in the.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
For this, I think it is appropriate.
Yeah, we would actually be full if that wasn't an issue, because we had a person that was interested in, I think, November, and
Right.
it didn't work out for that reason. So
Okay.
that's a good thing to note if anybody's listening. You have to live within the city boundaries.
Yep.
But beyond that, it's pretty basic. It's like hour and a half every month plus whatever work you do outside of it for committee assignments, and I'm mostly explaining for the one listener or so that might exist, but
All right.
Listeners.
yeah. So
Hello to you.
yeah, hi folks. So I will make the updates to make sure we're all up to speed, and I guess to fulfill the needs for the clerk, though, even though he's not here, motion to re-up David Benek's term to begin his second year of his first term, effective this.
Second.
Yeah.
Any, all in favor of reappointing Dave Benek to his second year of his first term? Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Unanimous. All right, very good. Thank you, everybody. So that's the easy one. If you have, like, address or phone number info, stuff that you need updated as well, if you could maybe get it to me by Sunday, then I'll compile everything and send it over to Mr. Borling, and I'll get up to speed on that.
Just for
Yes.
information, who on this group is done at the end of this year?
Yes, good question. So,
Since you brought that up, that may be one.
And I think
Yeah.
Joe,
Good
if I remember
Yeah,
right.
because I think Joe and I started
Just you
about the same
two, yeah.
time.
yeah, I'm surprised to see it says he only served one term. That's not correct, because he was here before I joined, I think, and as for you,
Yeah.
and we're both on our second term, so that's probably her too.
Okay.
Although actually, I know he did join after I did, so maybe that is, we'll have to find out from him.
Yeah, I can follow up
But
with
he,
him. Good catch.
because I recruited him, so I had
Okay.
an on it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him being here on the first day that I joined, and that was
Yeah, same.
January 2019, I think. But we'll sort that out. But
Okay.
okay. Cool. Then we can move on to the less fun part. Unless you want to, I don't think we need to read through all of the bylaws. I trust that you can all read. But unfortunately, the city attorney reviewed our bylaws, and we have some changes that need to be made. And so what I did was I created a draft of those in our Google Drive. Amber's got that pulled up on the screen there, and we can look at the comments. But I'll read them out into the record as well. So basically what he did was looked through to make sure we're not contravening anything in city ordinances or state law, and there's a few things that we need to touch on. I'll start with his opening comment. They just kind of came in an email, and I just copied and pasted into the bylaws here. So right at the top, he says, City Ordinance Section 2-102 provides the committee may elect a chairman, such other officers as it may desire from its own membership, and may adopt rules for its own activities. And then he says, in, I guess, commenting on that rule, the ordinance does not require, unlike other boards, that the city commission needs to formally approve ECC bylaws, which I think we knew. That said, the bylaws must conform to city ordinance and other relevant authority. Regarding the latter, City Commission Rule 12 addressing advisory boards does not specifically require bylaws or appointed boards to be approved by the City Commission. So all that's to say is that we have the power over our bylaws such that they conform to city ordinance and state law. Okay. Going on, he said this was his closing comment, but it's kind of relevant at the top. That said, the City Commission could amend the ordinance to provide for an option of co-chairs. We'll come back to that. And while not recommended could permit the ECC to appoint, quote, associate members, again, we'll come back to that, under defined parameters and conditions. As for indemnification, this is a larger issue that impacts all appointed boards, and in particular, those that are making more than recommendations, such as the Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Commission. So basically, they're saying, if you have some kind of statutory power, there's like extra steps that you have to jump through, but not relevant to us. But we'll come back to the other two things that he notes in there. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions or comments about those initial, I guess, comments?
We used to have what I kind of thought fit the description of associate members, that some of them were past members that still had an interest that likes to come to this. Is that?
That is still the
That
case,
sounds
and
like
that
that's
is
okay.
point number one that we have to address.
Okay, thank
No
you.
voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, non-voting.
All right, so, yeah, let's just move on to that then. So his next
Okay.
comment, he was, just kind of going in order of what's in the bylaws.
Okay.
He says, section 2.2 in the bylaws addressing associate members to be appointed by the ECC is in conflict with ordinance 2-100A. The ECC is made up of 11 members who must be city residents and, quote, such advisory consultants and liaison officials as the city commission may from time to time deem appropriate and appoint, end quote. Only the city commission may appoint, quote, associate members.
Okay.
Oh.
So that is kind of a bummer. That means we have to basically remove this provision unless a city ordinance is changed, but like that's a big ask of the city commission in order to allow for us to have this. So we could discuss it if you want. On the flip side, my initial read of it is nothing stops people that were past members from just coming and
That's right, they
commenting
can come
anyway.
as citizen,
Yeah,
interested citizens.
exactly.
So a question, so it says that associate members had to be appointed by the city commission?
In the other, yes, let's read that again. Yeah, so the city commission can appoint like official associate members that would probably be like subject matter experts or something like that. So that is something we could take advantage of,
Well,
absolutely.
because they have to appoint us too.
Mhm.
So it sounds like it's a similar process.
Yes.
Perhaps,
Yes,
to say, send it to the, city commission and say, we would like to have this person as an associate member. I mean,
Yeah.
is that a process that would be consistent with what
I
the
think that would
city
bring us in
attorney is
line.
saying?
I think so.
Because we can make a recommendation, and then the city commission can.
True.
Right, so if
Yeah.
it's like a past member,
Mhm.
we can say we'd like to transition this person into an associate member, approve or not approve.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure that is consistent with what the rules are.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, basically what you see on there, I mean, it's blurry, but, is exactly everything that I know, but I think that is an alternative that we could use. Instead of striking this from the bylaws, we could just modify it and say that from time to time we'll request the city commission appoint associate members with, specific subject matter relevant points or whatever. So for example, Aaron had asked to stay on because he was so involved with the air and water quality
Right,
stuff. And
right.
that seems a
For
reasonable request.
continuity, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that sounds like a good workaround to me.
Mhm.
What do you think, Jane? Does that sound like a workable?
Yeah.
Is there a limit
Yeah.
to how many we can have, and, is there an attendance requirement for them? I don't see any, it's just,
Not as written, no.
Right.
Yeah, and I imagine the commission probably wouldn't want to appoint one unless we had like some term suggestion maybe, either like conclusion of some business or after so many years or something
Sure,
like that, but,
sure.
as of right now, yeah, there's no, since, effectively, from what I understand, we basically made up the and so we're just kind of making sure we fit.
So,
the
Is
document.
Aaron gonna continue going to the odor
Yes.
task force?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, he should be on it.
Yeah,
And
so
maybe
he,
it could be an annual renewal or something.
Sure.
Like, it could be just,
like the chair positions or something. maybe,
right,
Yeah.
it's just like, is it still relevant? Does this person still want to do it?
Right.
Is it still
Okay.
needed?
So will,
It's just a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
so will this section then be rewritten as opposed to just removed? Because there are some things that I think are good ideas to at least get in here.
Yeah.
So it acknowledges it.
I think that's a good point. Kind of what I was thinking about for this is, we would go through all the comments, find out the things we need to change, since kind of, as we currently have it, my stipulation is to do the boring paperwork stuff. I'm happy to like bring us, a new draft of the bylaws to our next meeting that we can review and discuss for final language. That sounds okay.
Sounds great,
Good idea.
thank you.
All right, so without further ado, moving on to the next comment regarding member attendance. So we'd been wondering what the policy was with that. I think, I'll read the current, bylaw, and then I'll read in the full thing. So, speaking of, one of our associate members. Section 2.4 in the bylaw is member attendance. Each member is expected to attend scheduled ECC meetings. If a member misses more than 3 meetings per year, the ECC officers have the authority to change that individual's status to associate member or to recommend removal by action of the members. And so that's what it's currently at, and here's what Attorney Robinson said. Well, Section 2-4, addressing attendance, is in conflict with City Commission Rule 12F. The rule provided that an appointee who misses more than 50% of regular meetings of a board automatically forfeits their appointment. So that's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has missed more than 50% that I'm aware of, but we haven't been taking super rigid attendance. But as you can see with this new agenda thing, we're going to start doing that.
Yeah.
So I guess everybody's fair warning, don't miss 6 meetings this year, or
Right.
we don't have any power to do anything about it.
Are these excused absences or just in general?
think just
I
in
think that
general.
one's in general.
Yeah,
So,
We can keep our other thing probably too, if
Think
we
so.
wanted, but, we
so,
have to do that.
right,
Okay.
exactly. So, I'll just, to that point, I'll just modify it to be consistent with the ordinance, so at least we just have something to reference in our own committee. Other comments on that?
So we can be more strict, we just can't be more lenient.
Yeah.
I guess that's right, yes. That's right, yes. So, as before, I think it's been working well. If folks are gonna miss, can you just let us know? The main reason, as I noted in my communique earlier today, we have to have a quorum, and so it would suck to get here and, so many people are missing that the rest of us that were here just have to go home. So, if you can just continue doing what you're doing, I think we're good. Moving on. Section 3.2, talking about time and location of meetings. I'll just read the attorney's note. Similarly, sections 3.2, addressing time and location of meetings, should be more tightly written to assure conformance with the Open Meetings Act, and 3.3, addressing remote participation, violates the Open Meetings Act. I don't really know what tighter he wants there. It's pretty cut and dry. Any thoughts?
I think from what I remember reading, it did seem like our bylaws were allowing people to remote in. And we knew already, and we're going by that you can't do that,
Right.
but we don't have it written like that.
I see.
So that's what I was thinking, because I remember reading that and being like, oh, that would be nice,
Right.
but we weren't doing that, and that's why we're not doing that, but it's just,
Right. Good thought. Okay. So, just for the good of the order, can't remote in. Sorry. If you're gonna miss, you gotta miss, and I'll miss you.
so, because was he saying that was a city reason though, or is that a state thing?
I think it's an
That's-
Open Meetings Act thing with the
Okay.
state, yeah. The city ordinance might echo what the state law is. That's pretty common, but, we
Yeah.
gotta follow state guidelines, so. All right, almost done. Talking about officers, so this is the other challenging one. Talking about appointment. Quoting the attorney, Section 4.1, permitting 2 co-chairs, technically violates Section 2-102 of city ordinance, which specifies, quote, "a chairman," unquote. Use of the article, quote, "a," has been, technically indefinite article, has been interpreted by the Michigan courts to refer to a singular, not a plural. So we were kind of nervous that this might be the case. We'll have to discuss this. At the bottom line, like the changes that we made last month are void. We have to go back to the last thing. Sharon and I haven't talked about this because it came in fresh. If you guys are okay with waiting until next month to give us a chance to discuss it, but open to thoughts.
Well, it doesn't say how often you elect the leadership. What if we just change the leadership every month?
I like your finagling. Yeah. Fair point.
Well, I guess it says that one, one-year term of office
Okay.
for all officers. So I guess, okay, they tripped me up on
I
that.
did have a different tricky idea that could work. It's kind of skeezy, but, technically, we could just not have a chairman, and then Sharon and I are, as members, volunteering to lead the meeting. That's another possible workaround, but I don't want to get us in trouble.
Yeah,
So
sounds
that one
tricky.
feels a little closer to getting us in trouble, but, yeah, bottom line, we'll have to go back to the oath rules, but.
If there has to be a chair because that is a designated point of contact,
Mhm.
but at any given meeting, that chair could delegate authority to someone else
That's
to
true.
lead the meeting.
That's true.
Even though an individual is still identified as the chair of the group for that year
Mhm.
term, and another work around
Legal-
that
legal
individuals
Yeah.
can, a plural of individuals. At any given meeting, I could see it, if there were a chair, that chair could designate a different person to lead next month's meeting,
Yeah,
but it's done by authority of a chair and it's on record as such.
yeah.
I don't know how that would fly, but it's just a topic.
Good idea.
Well, it does say the membership will elect leadership in the form of the chair and the vice chair.
Mhm.
So, the vice chair could just run some of the meetings, and
Yeah.
the chair could run some of the meetings.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
But they're
I mean,
defined.
you could
positions.
define, we could define the roles however we wanted to, I think.
yeah,
The actual, working.
right.
But again, gives you guys time to discuss it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think maybe, Bobby, to your thought, as far as like, maybe we decide, and who knows, somebody else might want to share the meeting for
Mhm.
whatever reason.
Right.
That could be a thing that doesn't necessarily even have to go in the bylaws. That could be like a table law, I suppose.
Right.
But, yeah, we'll talk more about, that. And
Okay.
it came in hot, Tuesday, so, well, thank you for the wonderful ideas. Moving on to the last point that I don't really know what to do with. So the last point is about indemnification. My understanding of that word is basically like keeping us out of legal jeopardy for any decisions or whatever that we make. Based on my reading of the bylaws, it feels to me that somebody who was an attorney wrote these at some point, or at least it feels like it. I don't really know what to do with this. The city attorney just said, Section 5 addressing indemnification exceeds the authority of the board. So I suppose maybe we just strike the whole thing.
Have it, yeah.
Can he
I could ask
not
to
make
clarify
a
as well.
specific suggestion for language that would be better?
Sure, okay.
But I don't know what I would suggest.
Right,
Right,
and it's so long and wordy, and like, I can't even imagine the time in which it would come into play, but, yeah, I can ask for clarification, and if it comes to be, another 500 words, we could just say like, there's a problem.
5 words would work.
Yeah, there we go. So,
Interesting.
Talk to Clyde.
right, or his successor, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I do my big, here's everything, I'll just include that as a question if like any guidance on this otherwise. Okay. So that's all of our boring bylaw stuff, unless anybody has any comments, questions.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Is there anything in our bylaws about members and rationale for recluding ourselves? If a certain topic comes up and we are in on it in our
Good question.
professional life.
Conflict of interest kind of thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
because that has come up in NFP.
Sure.
And myself as an environmental consultant, and I am involved in some City of Kalamazoo projects now, so if there's something that's direct, I could see that. Obviously, we leave that up to the individual to have a conscious of such to announce that if and whenever that becomes, but I guess I just wondered if that's in our rules.
Can't remember if it is,
I don't
but
see anything in there.
Yeah, I did a quick Control F, conflict of interest, nothing came up. So.
Because that's where indemnification can be an issue.
Mm.
If I know something and I'm on a committee that gives recommendation to the commission to vote on a certain thing a certain way.
that benefits you in a different area, yeah.
someone could say, boy, that's not right, you know?
Right,
I
yeah.
can see it.
You would excuse yourself from that vote.
Of course, right. But I just wondered if that is something that should be in our rules, even though it's an expected, something we would
Yeah.
expect from an
Yeah,
individual anyway.
Personal expectation.
Mhm, right.
Not everybody has the same.
I think it's
level of
always a good
professionalism.
idea to spell out
Mhm,
expectations.
Sure. Well, I could add that in my clarification question, like, do we need
Yeah.
something like this?
And
or
I'm
what
sure
would
an
that look
attorney
like?
has already a canned statement about such things, because
Sure.
I'm probably in any of the city committee, you know, rules of engagement.
Right.
Okay, anyway,
Yeah, well, good
it's
point.
come up in NFP a little bit. It's never been a problem, but it has come up. So I think for this, even though we are advisory in nature, still it's important to make things right.
Mhm. Agreed.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I will, include that in my question.
Okay.
To the attorney's office. Your point about NFP reminded me, though, you were actually not on this list, this term list, which I remember catching by accident. I was like,
Interesting.
that doesn't make any sense. So,
Okay.
it makes me wonder if you were ever, I'm pretty sure you've been on the website. I'm fairly certain I've seen your name there.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I hope it doesn't mean that you can't serve on more than one, because it's really valuable having your
That
roles, but.
that was
This one
addressed
was
with the city.
Yeah.
And though it's not recommended for people to do that, in cases, in particular with NFP, because I was on this board first,
Mhm.
or this committee first,
Right.
and that one, NFP is a little more based on area of expertise,
Sure.
and I'm the only geoscientist on that team, so that was
Okay.
addressed.
Well, then we will, get your name in there. Do you happen to remember when you joined the ECC?
No.
Okay.
I'm real close to the end of my third term right about now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Then,
Or
I'll.
third year of first term is what I meant to say.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do about
Finding out.
updating that, and
Sure.
I'll just contact you if I
No
have any
worries.
questions. Okay. So that officially concludes
Okay.
our paperwork stuff. So I'll have some things to send to the clerk, and,
Mhm.
I'll bring updated bylaws to discuss at our next meeting. Regardless what happens with the chair situation, Sharon is leading February's meeting. And,
There we go.
we'll go,
Right,
but,
there we go.
I'll have it as an agenda item on
Sure
there
enough.
for us.
Other
So-
duties as assigned.
Other duties, that's right. It does a lot of work.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so moving on, unfinished business. I can just say quickly regarding community sustainability plan, like I said, Sharon and I were originally planning a meeting with Jamie. That didn't happen. I did speak with her briefly in December before Christmas. She was just kind of giving me updates on, things to come, including the budget and getting the position posted, and, she's really looking forward to that. And, I think the main thing worth noting is, I guess to put it on the record, I didn't love the format of the public comment period, with the sustainability plan when it was happening. I thought it was pretty confusing. So Jamie and I discussed it a little bit, and basically I suggested / asked that next time public engagement stuff is being developed by the planning department, that they just talk to us and maybe we can help, vet it and, make sure it's easily understandable, and maybe we can be a part of that process, more officially than just, side conversations here and there.
Mhm.
So, long story short, Jamie will be here with Nolan next month to hopefully tell us what's going on and hopefully get some good news.
It's a job description.
Yes, right.
Oh, right.
Second thing, I don't have much on the Kalamazoo River, but I will note that on Monday, I emailed, Representative Rogers and, State Senator McCann, who both represent our area,
Mhm.
asking them with the new Democratic majority in the, House, what their prognosis is for bills related to river cleanup might be. Haven't heard back, but I'll update y'all if I hear anything.
Good.
Does anybody else have anything regarding the river or anything they want to mention? MDHHS, radio silence. Everybody's getting frustrated. So
They said first quarter, which is
another 2 months, okay. So we'll be eagerly awaiting that, and that'll be a big agenda item when that comes out. So, for those of you that are interested in the air quality stuff, keep waiting. waiting, I guess.
Mhm.
Okay, well, with nothing else,
Quick question
please.
and comment. I'm wondering for the community sustainability plan updates, is it possible maybe to get one of those as sort of like a subcommittee report so that every month we're receiving like a tiny bit of information, knowing that they're always working on things, knowing that things are always in progress, but just sort of proactively setting that so that we have, something to go on, some tidbits of information.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and it's definitely in line and stuff that we've all talked about, that we'd love to really have open and consistent communication on its implementation. So I'm happy to be that person, since I already have been, but if anybody else wants it, you can take first dibs. But I think that's a good idea, to just make it a standing agenda item, and
When there's a coordinator, maybe even more official, like where whoever can meet, that would be
Yeah.
great too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was one thing I did ask of Jamie, is if we could plan on at least quarterly updates from that coordinator, but I'm sure we'll, at the very least, have them in to meet and greet, and can see what's going on. I mean, they'll have a lot to get up to speed on in a short period of time, but yeah, I think that's a good idea. So for the next agenda, I'll move the sustainability plan down to subcommittee report. Emily, would you like to discuss Ann Arbor leaf policy update?
Yeah, so Gail was able to join us also, which was
Great.
super valuable, and I'm glad you could be there for that. So do you want to start?
No.
Just your.
No.
Figure it out. Okay. Great.
No, you had,
Yeah.
and I'll add in stuff
Okay.
if I feel that it's moved.
Sure.
Great, yeah, thank you. So I brought up in the fall the possibility of us looking at some policy changes with the city around our leaf management and what we do with pickup, and looking at it more as a resource instead of just garbage that people are blowing into the street. So we had sort of dropped it, wasn't really sure what we should do with it, and then someone, I don't remember who, sent me some information about Ann Arbor and sort of their approach to this issue. So I made an appointment with Jennifer Petoskey, who is their solid waste outreach and compliance specialist with the city, and she was happy to talk with us for a while. And the conversation we ended up having was actually more about their whole composting program. So Ann Arbor has a municipal composting program that they run with a private contractor called We Care, who actually operates the facility. And so their leaf management is part of that. So for standard for their residential customers, both single family and multi-unit dwellings, is they have a weekly compost pickup as part of their service with the city. And that includes leaves and yard scraps and basically anything that they call table scrapings they accept. So really full service sort of composting. That's been in the works for decades. I think they said even in the 90s they had this program. They're going to start moving to also doing that for commercial customers on like a subscription basis with something that they could pay for. And what that has really done for them is they still, you'll have to check me on this exact detail, but it sounds like they still have individual leaf pickup for residents, but you have to specifically request it. It's not something that they send a truck around, we'll be on your street on the 3rd or whatever. If they have to call the city and say, we have so many leaves, we're requesting, pick up between these dates, and it's something that they will accommodate. It's an interesting idea. I think when you remove that convenience of it happening, it's
Like the default is to do it.
right. If the default is to instead find some other ways to deal with it, than having the big truck come by, that's fine.
Right, but you said they do it weekly though,
For the pickup.
for general pickup.
Yeah.
So rather than a mound of leaves, maybe if I raked my leaves as they started to fall in October, and I was able to, if I'm issued a bin, let's say,
Right,
and I
right.
incorporate that into my weekly pickup, yeah, there may come a time when that's overwhelmed, and like you said, the neighborhood association might say, okay, we're gonna do a bigger round of this coming week, or something like that, but, okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep. And so the other thing that they do a really good job of, this whole conversation that we had, is that they have a very large outreach effort to evidence sort of, to residents around some of these alternatives. If you look at their website, even they have it, when you Google like Ann Arbor leaf management or leaf pickups, it brings you this website that talks about like home composting, their compost programs, rain gardens, mulching, what to do, and sort of these different options for folks to sort of, it feels like you're being channeled through these other options before you get to that default option of have us come and pick up your leaves, right? And they really treat it as more of a holistic sort of approach to solid waste management. The other thing that they do is that they enforce ticketing of residents who blow their leaves into the street. So I don't know if that.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that, Kalamazoo does or what, but they.
No, we do not.
Yeah. Is it?
Close up the storm game.
Yeah.
And block bike lanes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It becomes a problem.
Interesting.
And the first snow always gets there before the leaves are picked up.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just the way it is.
Well, and it creates a situation where you have all these angry residents. They say, we were promised you're going to be here in October, and then weather happens, right?
Yeah.
I think it creates sort of a no-win situation for the city when, people are waiting for this and are angry for different reasons. The other thing that we touched on a little bit was they tried to do no mow May in Ann Arbor, but the issue that they're having is that because of climate change, people are mowing their grass earlier and earlier. So by the time you get to May, depending on the weather, people may be on their second or third cutting already of grass. And if you have so many months of accumulation, it might physically be impossible for the average residential, person to make their way through that lawn, in May, which I'm sure people have different feelings and things about that. But I think that is a realistic issue for some people, depending on what you have. Their Parks Department has a Natural Areas Preservation Department, which actually sets their policy as far as park management, what they do. So as a regular practice, they don't do any leaf blowing in their parks. They mulch in place and then have these natural areas where they leave things. I did ask about sort of how this large-scale composting program affects their city finances. Is it good for the bottom line? She didn't really have any answer, or didn't really feel like she was empowered to, answer those sort of questions, but I think it's fair. So yeah, a lot of good information, a lot of good sort of pilots I feel like we could probably pull out of their approach. That'd be low-hanging fruit, especially some enforcement of the blowing in the streets would be great. Sort of around these educational pieces, I think are those low-hanging fruit that'd be easy to develop, easy to change some of our messaging and view from the curb. Is that in the websites and things like that.
Did they mention anything about I forget what it was called with recycling, auditing? I'm just curious if they've ever mentioned having issues with people putting non-compostable stuff in the bins.
Yeah. We did talk about a little bit. I think that is less of an issue for them because they do accept all organics, all table scraping, so they don't have that aggregate, where they're taking out the cardboard and trying to keep that dry.
Okay.
It all goes to their industrial scale composting facility.
Right.
And is there a usable end product? I know leaves are tough, but if composting is done right, there is a valuable organic end product that has some farmer might want that and reuse that, or we could use that in other green space areas for whatever value it has.
I believe we talked about them using the compost in their parks. Don't quote me on that. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
People will buy into something if they feel that there's an end result.
Right.
Other than it just helps keep the city cleaner. Yeah.
That's a good question. I will remind myself to ask.
Okay.
So one of the things that it sort of struck me, a difference between Kalamazoo and Ann Arbor in this is that, we have optional yard waste pickup. If you have your waste management
Mhm.
from one of the major, waste management companies,
Mhm.
you have the option of getting the bin for, yard waste.
Right.
Mhm.
And it gets picked up weekly during the season,
Mhm.
during the yard season.
Like May to October or something?
Right,
Yeah.
and you pay for it.
Mhm.
You pay a pretty steep price for it. And that's something that Ann Arbor is doing as a city service, and that's where a lot of the leaves are going. So
Mhm.
it is part of the city service, is that along with your garbage, you get the yard waste, Kirby, with no additional charge.
Mhm.
Really?
And so, so the leaves are still being picked up.
Mhm.
As our leaves are picked up at no charge to us, but, they don't have the, the big riding leaf blowers, and the big trucks that suck them up. They do it in these other ways,
Mhm.
which is something that the city provides as a service. So, it would be kind of a trade-off, but it would also, some ways it would be beneficial for homeowners not to have to pay,
Mhm.
Best Way or Republic,
Mhm.
but I would think it'd be a big cost for the city to assume this,
Yeah.
this process. And it sounds like Ann Arbor's got a very large space
Mhm.
that they do this. She says, oh, that space is not a problem. We
Mhm.
have,
Mhm.
some big area where they can dump all of this compostable stuff. And, so those are some differences, of what they're doing and what we're doing. And certainly, the rule is you're not supposed to put the leaves in the street
Mhm.
until the week or the day of your leaf pickup, but nobody ever adheres to that, ever,
They do it when they can.
unless they live on West Midger Park, and then I think they really have to.
Sure.
But, on any other secondary street or any other street, people are just like, they start blowing their leaves into the street
Sort of
in,
growing
the end of August.
Yeah.
Just coming out of this budget cycle, we just approved the budget last night. Public services would have to be engaged early for the next budget cycle for '24. I'm thinking if we didn't have to do all the trucks and all the people to do the leaf pickup, that might mitigate the cost of the barrels.
Yeah, because on one hand, you lose the efficiency of using a street sweeper and the trucks, but on the flip side, if I was a homeowner, it'd be a lot easier to get rid of sticks and other
Yeah.
like
Incrementally,
yard-
week by week.
Weekly.
It would totally be a win-win.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So how to engage public services early in the budget process for next year.
Composting is in the community sustainability plan too.
Yeah.
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 And,
So, throwing that out there.
Yes,
And
thank you.
certainly in
That
the
would-
fall season, when you got all the leaves, people will have bags. She said there are some yards that they had, I don't know, hundreds of bags
Yeah,
of leaves. that the city would
two
have
or
to come.
300 bags of pickups that people were requesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of the same, like, fleet trucks, though.
We don't have anything like that here. There's, we have businesses that send compost across the state to the Ann Arbor area, for compost.
Where the leaves end up
Mhm.
mostly.
Yeah.
For, well, businesses
other-
specifically, I don't think so. I think, I don't wanna say for where the cities want, I think they do it on their property, but businesses that want to try to do composting have had to send it to industrial composters not close by.
So when does work on the budget cycle when would it need to start?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm thinking, maybe in the interest of time, since we got our committee reports and want to make sure we
Yeah.
can check the phones, one thing I'm thinking is maybe if you wouldn't mind coming up with kind of a summary of what you were talking about, and then, we can invite maybe public services, I don't know if, Jim Baker would be the right person or somebody else, to just start having the conversation of what would that cost look like? Could we even look into this kind of thing?
Yeah.
Wendy Burlingame does the View for the Curb with some other people,
Okay.
and she does all of the recycling. I think she'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
From a perspective of how is this affecting what happens to leaves?
Mhm.
I don't know that it would really I don't know that there'd really be any differences. if people don't want to compost leaves on their lawn, they're not, you know,
Yeah.
either way, they're gonna get rid of the leaves on their lawn, you know, and so I'm not sure, you know, I think we started with this, is like, it would be much better for
Mhm.
people not to get rid of their leaves, but either system,
Yeah.
you know, is really gonna end up at the same endpoint for somebody who, you know, doesn't wanna mulch their leaves in place.
Yeah.
But, you know, so it still comes down to education and trying to,
Mhm.
provide people information about the benefits of leaving the leaves.
Mhm.
But now it's a big push that they just planted all these trees and everything, that's kind of a problem they're creating for themselves.
Fair.
Those leaf factories.
Another reason for people to be mad if they don't have the resources or know what to do, you know, they feel like it's imposed upon them to have.
Or they're just not physically able to, I mean, raking is a big thing.
I think that's a great,
Middle
there's,
school is out
there's a lot to what you're saying.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, I will tell you, just, anyway, I never thought of that. I owned homes wherever I lived. Never thought about, oh, just leave them, because it'll help. Never thought, I think education probably is a strong key.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm thinking maybe, with the community sustainability plan, it might be a hefty update, it might not.
Mhm.
Here's what I'll suggest. You can come up with a rough, outline of what you want to talk about. I will reach out to Wendy Burlingham and see if she's available either in February or March to come talk to us, and then we can kind of make that one of our big topics for that month. Because combined with, obviously, we could come up with maybe some policy solutions, but the education component, even to just have this discussion, would probably be,
Yeah.
Because the commission has a retreat in February,
okay,
to talk about our priorities. One of those is sustainability,
right?
so we
Cool.
can bring up this.
My company's involved with a couple of municipalities in the greater Detroit area with, with composting efforts. And I'll find out what, Canton Township is one of them, and there's some, couple others over there. I'll find out what they're doing.
Okay,
Just,
great.
just to maybe,
Yeah.
and if we keep that as an action item for our next discussion to, and then maybe a recommendation of some sort can come out of it,
Right.
working with the, yeah.
Yeah, so next month it'll, definitely be sustainability plan, almost definitely something to do with Western, Climate Crisis Month. And then maybe on Wendy, if not February, definitely March, and we'll commit to having it there by March at the latest. Cool.
Awesome, Emily.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you, Gail, as well. That, yeah, that's great information. Definitely feels very like practical as well, which is nice.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, so, nice job. Before we move on to committee reports, anything else anybody wants to report on, or anything to that nature? Just wanted to-
Hopefully, put a placeholder probably in March, hopefully in February for the.
Yes, thank you, right, good point. Forever lives on our agenda.
Yeah, the new topics was, is there anything that anyone felt they really wanted to start and get on the agenda more often? Subcommittees-ish.
Well, I think at some point, a PFAS item,
Yeah.
if you saw the news, West Michigan just identified MPART identified another, fairly heavily,
Oh, I didn't know that.
area over in South Haven. But just because it didn't make news, there are more, we're learning more and more and more. When I used to sample groundwater for whatever at a gas station, I'm targeting, hydrocarbons, right? Because that's the chemical of concern. And I have found out that even just groundwater anywhere is not just water anymore. The PFAS stuff is
Everywhere.
whether there's a known source or not. And so its distribution is wider and more prevalent than we thought. So at some point, I think we'll almost need a line item for PFAS update.
Yeah.
We can get something in the water quality, subcommittee.
Sure,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I saw there's some initial, like, lab results too, that UV lights concentrated might destroy PFAS. I thought it was something like recently announced, but, I mean, it's so far in the infancy, but I thought that was interesting. But
Yeah.
yes, thank you, good point. We are pushing close on time, so,
Gotcha.
let's move on to subcommittee reports. I'll just say at the top, I did not have time to look at planning commission with all the other stuff, I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
So, I'm out of the list. Bobby, NFP?
NFP did not meet last month, only due to lack of cases. So we're still there and still moving strong, but, no new cases, so did not meet.
Great. Sharon?
We are gonna meet soon, but we haven't been able to for air and water quality.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Wildlife natural resource protection.
The application for the Urban Bird Treaty is out for review to all 24 partners.
Nice.
We're going to get it submitted by the middle of February.
All right. Excellent.
Yes, yeah.
That's cool. I hope we'll come back in February and say it has been passed.
Yep.
Well, it's like it has been submitted. It'll take 3 or 4 months
Gotcha.
to get a,
Fair.
to get a answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. Tree committee as well?
Nothing new on the tree committee.
Great. Silent Lake.
I'll have more details next month, but basically, we meet, the 15th? Yeah, there's gonna be a meeting shortly after that. I believe it's not till March, though, actually. So March 16th, that we're gonna have, the forest management, there was a management plan review for the public, and we didn't have details of the where and everything yet, so, we talked about that.
Great. Parks and Rec?
Really small agenda that they had. They approved a couple board members, one permanent member, and then I don't think they called it associate member, but they added a place like a non-voting member. They have a couple winter events coming up at the end of January and beginning of February that they're not sure are going to happen because they
Ice
don't.
golf not happening.
Yeah. I told them they could get like rafts.
Water polo. Water
polo.
polo.
Yeah. So winter plans probably not in place for Parks and Rec. I did ask them about, just sort of separately for Earth Day, about doing a planting at Woods Lake. They are losing their landscape coordinator. So that's going to be a hole for Parks and Rec the next little bit, trying to get somebody to review and make those sort of changes for the plantings on the park.
So it's like a job vacancy, or like
It is a
somebody
job
that's already in the
vacancy,
department?
yeah.
Okay.
Who's leaving, do you know?
I don't know the person's name.
Okay.
Yeah.
A revolving door of.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's so much space in the city that they,
Yeah, like the continuity of who you need to contact for what has
Mhm.
been not there.
Yeah. That's all I had.
David is not here. Actually, as we sat down, I saw the Watershed Council just shared their newsletter, but I obviously didn't read it, so, we'll talk about that in February.
Okay.
We got our wellhead protection stuff last month, so we're good there. And, nothing to report as far as I know with Odor Task Force and David being out. So if we could go to see if anybody's on the phones, want to make some comments, and then we'll. I guess I'll just note while she's booting that up, anybody have any issues getting the Google Drive access? Anything there? Okay,
Oh, I haven't tried.
fair. So I did notice that, technically Paul Manstrom, 2 chairs ago, is still the folder owner.
Yeah.
So I don't have permissions, Sharon and I don't have permissions to grant everybody access yet, so I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna reach out to Paul.
Oh, okay.
And, see about doing that so we can, talking about continuity. And one other thing I've been thinking about is maybe we can figure out a way to either the city help provide us one or get an ECC email so that people don't have to email chairs directly, and it would just be the
Committee
same
email
spot.
address, very nice idea, very nice.
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, that like maybe the
Mhm.
chairs would manage and
Or
maybe
called
that
I
way.
wonder if Juan would
ECC chair or something.
Yeah,
Sure. So
yeah.
maybe do some background conversations about that, but if that sounds good to folks, I think it'd be nice to have like a centralized
Mm-hmm.
place.
ECC at kalamazoocity.org.
Exactly,
You can put it on the view for the curb.
right,
Don't know why not.
right, cool,
Can I backtrack with an afterthought about the leaves?
please.
We used to talk quite a bit and we had guests from, Woods Lake come, and the issue was salinization of
Right.
inland waters. And at least it makes some sense that one of the contributing factors was that the accumulation of leaves along the roadside that also coincides with when we start applying salt to the roads for the early snows. And those leaves adsorb and absorb and collect sediment and everything that the salt concentrates there. And if a weekly pickup of smaller incremental amounts, I know fall's gonna hit and there has to be a contingency for that.
Yeah.
But if things were removed a little more regularly on a regular basis, that might help that issue,
Yeah.
to some degree.
It's a really good point.
Mhm.
Cool. Amber, yeah, if you want to open the lines for, we'll give it 30 seconds, 60 seconds, see what happens. It's hard to say
Anyone on
since
the
we can't
line?
really predict it. Oh yeah, and Sharon, do you mind checking Facebook, see if we got
Any
anything?
comments?
There's one.
Oh, great.
No
Calls?
calls currently.
Yeah, we can-
Tina McClinton did comment.
Sure, does somebody want to read Tina's comment in real quick, or summarize it maybe? Is it really long?
It's the same,
Can you
Yeah.
summarize it maybe?
it's basically about the land in the,
South
South County.
Right.
Mhm.
The green space
Mhm.
and not wanting it to go away,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and about the flooding.
Well, thank you, Tina. The city is looking into flooding. That's another discussion that we'll have to have soon as well. That's, James Baker, the Director of Public Services, talked about one opportunity. We're thinking we might want to investigate some alternatives, for the flooding situation. And, yeah, as before, your best tool for the protection of your green space is the Natural Features Protection Overlay and the board.
Mhm.
And we appreciate you following along. You've been one of our most consistent followers, so thank you, Tina. And
Did you
so,
notice that there's markers on there's flags in that property?
there, I see, okay. So
So
must be moving forward with some
some
stuff.
kind of development.
Okay. On a related note, actually, thank you for pointing that out. If I recall correctly, one of the big issues with it was she was concerned about the parking and water dissipation from a big parking lot.
Right.
And something that I'm only just learning a little bit about, and we're not a planning-related committee, but, removing parking minimums would go a long way to addressing that. So they wouldn't have to build a giant parking lot, they could build what they think they need. But that's something more for the planning commission, but we could maybe do an educational thing on talking about that at some point. Because right now, as it sits, there's minimum amount of parking you have to build out for every new business, regardless of what the need is, whether predicted or actual. And yeah, less concrete support maybe, so something we might look into. But, unless anybody's got any closing comments,
Just a quick
Please.
suggestion. I wonder if maybe having comments at the beginning of the meeting versus at the end of the meeting might help participation, so people don't feel like they have to wait that whole time. Is that something we could look at amending?
yes, absolutely. I think it had been in agendas before, so we'll make sure I forgot to do it at the top of this meeting, but we'll definitely check it at the beginning and the end. Though I will say real quick, the most surefire way to get your comment in is to show up to the meeting. And that's the best I can say, but we will definitely check more often. So, yeah, good point.
Yeah, beginning and end, yeah.
Beginning and the end. So, okay. Without further ado, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have, all answers, all of this?
I don't, but that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't reply to your email about that.
Did you get that all with that, did I send you the,
217.
the lease, or